page 68 and page 69. In these page 68 I've drawn out the size of the onto some sketchbook paper of the actual box size. This piece I have drawn out the size of the lid that will be slid on, which is going to be in inches instead of centimetres, as it's a larger scale for me, which I've actually worked in with a previous project, as I feel inches are much more easier for me than centimetres, as they have a smaller variety, making it sound much longer than it is. This is going to be 10.5, which is also going to be 3 inches in width. As for my equal square, it's going to be 10.5 exactly, which equals up to the actual side panels where the lid will be able to slide onto easily. As for the box itself, I drawed out different size I wanted the inches to be. I began with doing 8 to 9 to 10, which then I was able to decide, drawing them all out on the same graph, which size I actually wanted, which I chose 10 because 8 seemed too small, where I could barely fit anything besides a tree and just a few stones, so I couldn't draw anything. 9 still seemed too small, so I went with 10, which was fair enough, quite decent and big in the outcome. And then I've drawn also a little panel that will be the side walls as well. Same with the lids, where it's the same measurements. It'll be 10 inches and it'll be 3 across. And then I cut out a big circle for my design, which is on page that is on page 58, where it shows one of the designs I stuck in, which was quite recent, because the lid helps me to stop any sand falling out the box, and it helps to transport it, which is why this idea was quite sudden. And basically I got a dinner plate, which I drew the circle around, and a paint pot lid that I had as well, which was quite large. And then I drew only a quarter of this design, because it's basically, if you draw one side and I just flipped it after drawing a clear separation into 4 quarters by folding it twice, it can be transferred onto each side. Doing this is quicker instead of drawing out the whole thing, which then I could draw through onto my actual foam box, which I think would take quite longer, and I was trying to save my time as much as I can and be more wise on it compared to last project. As my last project, I was suffering with my time, as I was rushing at the last minute trying to get everything done, and I felt that I did worse than I am with my time now, as I am making some schedules which I will stick in at the end, showing how I've ticked everything off. As for page 69, I've done the experiments that would link to my 2D piece, such as where I've sticking what the stages and how I was developing making my piece, where I began to do the bath bombs onto my birds as background, as I started to do bath bars as a base, which then I put, after the bath bars dried, I put chunks of the bath bombs on using different colours next to each other, and used my paintbrush after it began to fizz to push near each other so then they could blend together. I was also covering as much space I could of the bath bars and the pencil lines itself. As for another section, I done the shaving foam, which even though shaving foam's white, it won't transfer on its own. So I sprayed as much shaving foam I did, almost half a can, into a big bag, which then I put a pipette amount into the bag, blended it all together, and then cut a big hole, which I did, which you can see where I've squeezed out of the bag in this piece. Doing this, it comes out quite weirdly because the bag was made sealed as if it was folded, making it come out really weird. And then after that, I flattened it with my hands, and then I put a few drops of ink onto my shaving foam quite randomly for now. After that, I scraped all the foam onto my squeegee, and then after I spreaded it across my covered canvas. Doing that, I had to stick loads of sketchbook paper and masking tape on other sections that wasn't going to be used with shaving foam. This has worked quite well, where I can see a nice light blue, which has also turned a little bit green from the yellow and red mixed in. After, I also began to paint the flowers drawings that I chose, which were quite rough, which then I painted using red as a base so it would stick out compared to all the shaving foam pattern underneath.